City of Oak Hill, and City Manager. The reason we're here this evening, there were several folks showed up at a city council meeting during the public comment section, and this is not a city project, so we didn't have a lot of good answers. I recognize some folks that were here, and so we are here. The city is here to facilitate a meeting. And the first thing I'd like to ask everybody is if you get your cell phones out, and please silence your cell phones so we don't interrupt each other. And the way the meeting is going to operate this evening, I'll go ahead and introduce Mr. Steve Cole. And Mr. Cole is the district manager. I'm sorry. District manager for District 9, headquartered in Lewisburg, West Virginia, but we are in District 9 for the Department of Highways. There will be, Mr. Cole is going to introduce his team. He's going to give you a little bit of history and some other facts about this project. And then we'll have everybody that wishes to speak. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. And at the conclusion of that, Mr. Cole may have some maps to show you and a Q&A period and all that. I just ask us all to be civil, respect each other's time to speak. Speak to Mr. Cole and his team, and not conversations among ourselves that interrupt and don't let us all speak and say our piece. So, having said that, Mr. Cole, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Thank all of you all for coming.
Thanks, Bill. I'm Steve Cole, the district engineer in Lewisburg. People I have with me today, I have Lord Thomas and Brian Hunt from our right-of-way department. I have James Kaufman, who is in our design section, that has been working directly with this project with the consultant that we had retained to develop these plans. And then I have his supervisor, who is Jim Moore, our maintenance engineer. Starting off, I wanted to really just give a history of what happened and how this project was developed. About 2 years ago, we were contacted by the school board about alternate access to the site. At that point, we went and we looked at Hallstead, and I can't remember the other streets that are beyond that, and looked at those as far as what would be the best access point to their property in this area. When we did that, it was obvious to us with the right-of-way, the alignment, the location, that Hallstead would be our best selection. The other reason why we entertain the idea is we have, for years, had discussions with the school board over safety issues and access at the existing driveway on Euler Avenue. So we definitely entertain the idea of having some type of access to try to improve things there. And then you go adding more schools, it's only going to get worse. So that's how the project started. And so we started the development of that, looking into what we can do and really how we could provide a good access point to the school with the least amount of interruption to your property and what you're used to. So what we have, and as Bill said, I have no objections to sitting here. We have the plans, and we can show you where your house is, how it's going to affect your property, what we will be doing. Basically, we're going to have a 20-foot wide paved road that goes from Summerlee all the way to the end of our right-of-way. It will have concrete curb and gutter. There will be a 2-foot gutter with a 6-inch curb. We will be updating all the drainage. Of course, we have utility relocations that come with that. We also have areas where there will still be on-street parking. If you had on-street parking and didn't have a driveway, we were going to construct a driveway into your property. So we have all that detailed here. There are going to be some changes at some people's homes, but what we've tried to do is the least intrusive thing possible to do that. I am going to assume everyone in the room realizes this is not a through street. This is basically an access point to the school. I talked to Terry George last week, and it will be a gated access, and it will be for buses only. If someone comes in their private vehicle, a parent, a student, they will be turned around and told it is a bus only access. It's my understanding it's going to be in the ballpark about 21 buses. So you'll see some bus activity in the mornings, and you'll see when school lets out. Otherwise, that would be the only additional traffic you should see, other than somebody trying to go in that point. When school's closed, the gate's going to be closed. Weekends, it's going to be closed. Summertime, it's going to be closed. That's not going to be a through street, from what I've been told from the school board. So, with that, is there anything else you can think of, Jimmy? Okay. With that, if you want, I think you have the list, Bill. If somebody has some questions, and try to answer those, and it's very possible you may ask me a question that requires coming up here and looking at the plans, and it may be something we may have to put off till we get through the list. But definitely, if anybody has a question in the room, we want to discuss and answer that today. And if there is anyone that will be involved in our right-of-way process, I think we only have one area where we'd like to purchase some right-of-way. But we have some other areas where we just want temporary construction easements. Lori's office handles that. So if you see that on the plans when we're talking, we can go ahead and discuss some of those matters with Lori as well. So, now, the other thing, these are 90% plans. This has not been advertised, bid, awarded, but it's basically done. But if there are small things that need to be adapted, changed, those are things we can consider from now until that point. So when you look at this, I mean, this is basically what we're going to do. But if there's something that maybe you have an issue with that we weren't aware of, that's something we'll definitely consider. So with that, we'll go ahead and...
Okay, and I'm going to introduce each of you. You can stand where you are. I believe we can all hear. And I will give you, it's 3 minutes, I will give you a 30-second warning. So I want to thank you in advance for your cooperation. And the first person I want to introduce is Lacey Moore, 133 Hallstead Avenue.
Thank you. Plans with this, one, has been terrible communication with your neighborhood. We got one letter and it was missent to most of us. We have mortgage companies or no letter to us in June of 18 of, that you guys would be doing surveys and there was a meeting. That was it. I'm hoping that your plans include the 45 vehicles on average that's parked on Hallstead Street, because that's the average. Boley has 16. The road itself over there has direct same access to the property through the back of the high school. It would cost less construction, and it's actually better for Boley's neighborhood because they already have a road irrigation problem.
Okay, Boley Street's not in the state highway system. It's a city.
It isn't? Actually, I thought you told me just a minute ago that Boley is part of the state.
I don't think it's ours. We're going to have to look. It's not numbered. We had,
It's one of those, excuse me, it's one of those that we did ask to be conveyed.
I saw the Boley Street sign, but it's not one of our signs.
The same type of sign as Hallstead.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't have the circle with the route number.
Yeah, again, but 95, you guys took a whole nother back half of our yard for an easement, put up a fence, was going to put gates for all the property owners, you didn't. You were supposed to maintain it, you didn't. And it's more than 20 foot that you could run a private driveway up to the school. And not cause us utility problems, being without utilities for who knows how long, interrupting our lives. Some of us work from home. This neighborhood is not a brand new neighborhood. We're now just going on third, fourth generational owners here, and we're getting whittled slowly away.
As far as whittled, we're not taking very much property. The property we're using for this project is all within our right of way.
Within your 5 foot off the side of the road right away.
We have 40 foot of right of way, just off Summerlee all the way to the.
On Hallstead, when that subdivision was developed,
Mhm.
it was developed with a 40-foot wide right of
40
way.
and 30 seconds.
With that 30-foot right of way, the why is most of our homes, when snow removal comes through, is already hitting our windows with snow. It's going to hit it with gravel now, and who's going to cover the cost of those repairs?
Shouldn't hit with gravel because there won't be any gravel any further. The roadway's going to be all pavement with concrete curb and gutter. There won't be any gravel shoulders.
Okay.
All right, let me introduce the next speaker, Mr. Tim Burnett.
Well,
Can you tell me where you're located at?
67, fifth house on the left. My senior mother lives there, our senior mother's my brother Greg. And the house is in my name. But she lives there alone. She has home health care people. I need emergency access to her house. I need where more than 1 or 2 cars can park there. Her driveway can only hold 1.5 cars. And we have a double fence that is flush to the edge of the right of way, okay? The fence and the double gates are right in line. So there is no way I would feel safe hooking up to an 18-foot boat that's in the back of her yard with a Silverado truck, opening those gates, which are manual, pulling this out into the road of Hallstead, getting out of it, closing the gate, or vice versa, coming back in with bus traffic and other traffic, whatever happens on that street. But we need parking there for our senior citizen mother, and I have a plan to do that if you want to entertain that plan.
Did you say 67?
67, fifth house on the left. But I do have a plan on what to do about that to make it safe for all of us on 67 Hallstead. Because I do have to have access to medical attention and firemen or ambulance, or she still is independent. That's why it's so important. And if she pushes a button, whatever time of day it is, they have to be able to come in without being sitting out in the road and load her in the ambulance or something like that. So I do have a plan that you want to talk to me.
Absolutely. When we get down here, that's what it's talking about. It'd be nice to look at the plan with you to see
Okay.
what you're talking
I'll
about.
do that.
Because there is on-street parking across from your mother's house.
Right, but we park over the water meter. We, over the water meters and the gas main, but we park there over the drainage, right in front of her gates when anybody comes in. Now, I know this is set in stone. I mean, I've worked with blueprints and I'm an ex-HVAC specialist. And I know when you went as far as you went as 90%, it's hard to change anything. But I would like for you to give me the explanation to why, if they could extend the ramp that goes to Kroger's going towards Fayetteville, northbound on 19 off of Summerlee Bridge, why can't they extend the ramp that goes south to Order Avenue on 19 and just make it either access on 19 or you stay on it and go bypass Bowley and go right into the woods to the same road?
Thank you.
Can you address that question?
I can't. Are you talking about a merge weave situation where
Yes.
traffic can come on? That is a non-standard ramp. The Federal Highway Administration does not permit the construction of those anymore.
But how they do it on the other side?
I don't think that's an actual merge weave.
Yes,
You're
it
talking
is.
about a block hill, right?
Yes, when you come off the bridge and go to Kroger's, they extended, that ramp used to just merge on 19, they extended it all the way to the other bridge, to where you go to Lot Gallery.
In the same way coming from
Okay,
Circle.
let's stop. We're going to save questions. These folks are going to be more than willing to answer any and all questions. but let's get through public comment first, okay? And they will address questions. Next speaker is Mr. Ayers, 302 Hallstead Avenue.
And I'm gonna continue with what he said. Coming from Kroger's, you have a total exit lane all the way up to Hallstead. So you got it in both directions. How come we can't take the one coming off of Summerlee, going straight to Euler Avenue, and deferring traffic a different way for the public? I mean, to make it safer. There's a lot more kids moving in on our street. And you hear about it happening all the time. Accidents with school buses, they're putting their lights on at the last minute, people are jamming on their brakes.
I can't picture that exit right now, so we'll see if
You can't what?
I can't picture what that area around Kroger looks like.
Well,
This is above Kroger's.
Well, it comes from the Kroger's exit from Main Street. When you cross Main Street coming out of Kroger's, the exit goes all the way, it's a total exit from Lock Alley all the way to Summerlee. And vice versa, when you're coming off of Summerlee, when you make a left on the 19 heading towards Fayetteville, it's a total exit all the way to Lock Alley.
It's a third lane.
I will project a map that'll show the highways, and just when we get through and we get into Q&A, I'll project the map on the wall.
But
And that's what we're talking about. If we can do it in one
It
direction,
did not used to be.
we can do it in one direction, how come we
It did
can't
not
do it
used
the
to
other?
be. It was made into these
Okay,
lanes.
that's,
All right, and also, when is this project, couple questions, when is the project planning on being completed? No, nobody's told anybody anything. You said this was brought to y'all 2 years ago. I bought my house 2 years and 3 months ago. That's how bad my luck is. I bought it because it was a dead-end street
We
for
wait.
my grandbabies. to be
It's hard
safe.
for us to have discussions about what's going to happen, timeframes, what's going to be done on the street. Can we get to this point of planning?
But originally, this plan was said to be done for this fiscal school year, and when I spoke to Jim, he said there's no way they were gonna meet that deadline because all the kids will be having to be moved.
That's
So you
where
still don't have a time frame? If it's gonna be 6 months, a year, 2 years?
our goal is to be under construction this summer. And we are working with the utilities now. They have been given the plan and they are working on their relocation plans at this time.
And I mean, there's a lot of working people on our street. My neighbor's a school teacher, his wife has a job. A lot of people come out to go to work in the morning, a lot of working people on the street. How is this
30 seconds,
construction,
Mr. Ayers.
how is this construction gonna affect people?
We have a maintenance of traffic plan, and there'll be flaggers out there just like any other construction project. It should be long.
Okay. I'm good.
thank you. Next speaker is Sherry Bragg, 94 Hallstead Street.
Yes. My family comes, if you take parking, I'll have none. If you take all my parking, there's gonna be nowhere to park. We have one tiny driveway.
There is on-street parking right in front of your
In
house.
front of my house, right, I have 2 vehicles. I have 2 kids. I have grandkids, I have son-in-laws. And I have nowhere to park, nowhere for them to park.
No, there's on-street parking, which is a problem.
There's on-street
Yes,
parking
absolutely.
On your side.
on my side.
Yes.
You're
You're on the right-hand side of the
Parcel.
lane, correct?
Thank you.
You're on the right-hand side of the lane?
Yes.
Yeah. There is, it actually starts on the right-hand side at,
Say 76 Hallstead.
now basically a little bit past 56 Hallstead, and then extends on the right-hand side to 142 Hallstead. On-street parking.
So I will have on the street.
Yes, ma'am.
That's one of those areas we really work hard to, and you'll even see it, the center line is not a straight line right down the middle of the right of way. Where it was possible, we shifted that center line to one side or the other to try in every way possible to maintain as much on-street parking as we could. There are many areas though, where you're aware of it, that it falls off on one side and goes up on the other side. And in those cases, we just could not maintain the on-street parking and tie in all the driveways and
Well,
things
I'm
that need to
saying,
be tied in.
I don't have that much of a driveway,
Right.
and I don't have room to put another driveway. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Next speaker is Natalie Atha, 105 Hallstead Street.
I was just gonna give information about what's going on.
She don't want to speak.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And the next speaker is Miss Ann Terry, 344 Hallstead Street.
It's sort of getting started. I just wondered why you picked our street, because we have elderly people. There's I've got a lady that lives across from me. She has 3 days a week dialysis. She has to have that ambulance to come in there and pick her up, take her for her treatment, and come back. And our street has always been a dead-end street, and we loved it that way, because we didn't have a lot of traffic. Okay, you say the bus is the only thing that's gonna come down through there. Okay, don't you think that's gonna be pretty noisy for the older people that lives on our street? We already got enough off the 4-lane, let alone come down our street. That's gonna be double. And another thing, the city owns the part over from where Jeff's fence is. Why can't they make a ramp that way and come in right at the end of the last house on the street?
How about taking a ramp off of US 19?
No, it's not a ramp, it belongs to the city.
Explain to me.
The
I'd have to
fence-
look at the map, I'm not
The
familiar.
fence where Jeff's house is,
The
and
sewage,
where the end one
Yeah.
is.
Mr. Sewage.
Right here. Comes all the way down.
So why
Behind
wouldn't
us.
it be silly
Yep.
to just take
Yeah.
that part, the city owns it,
They took it.
why couldn't, and they took it from the people. Jeff used it a long time ago.
Oh, you're talking about.
You're talking.
You're old
about-
Arkansas.
You're talking about behind,
Yes.
I believe that's federal right of way back there.
She's talking about where the sewer is, that's right in my backyard right
Yeah,
along.
but the sewer is a
Let's
city.
focus Ms. Perry's comments to
So
Mr. Cole.
I was just wondering why that they couldn't use that part and not bother our street. Why?
You're talking about like a utility right of way that's between our
No,
right of way
no.
on 19? and
No, it's behind where Jeff lives, all the houses. They all had to move their fence this way. The city made them do it, as far as I can understand. Or the state made them, I'm not sure who did.
I think.
We'll get some
that's our-
maps up here.
Actually, I think that's our controlled access right of way.
I don't know.
I
the city.
think that's-
So I was just wondering why you couldn't use that, and that would be off the 4-lane, that would take it right down the street,
It's
down
like
to
a
the
frontage
last
road is
house
what
on
you're
our
talking
street.
about.
It'd be the last house on our street, and you could go right up to the school.
30 seconds, Ms. Perry,
Do what now?
30 seconds.
Okay.
So your
I
issue-
can talk some more.
You can go on.
I thought I needed to talk, and I'll be frank with you, I am not happy. I am upset because you're all doing what you're doing. And just like the guy said, they never got a letter. I got one letter, I called, I don't know if it was you I talked to, and you told me that you would get back with me when the plans was finished.
I haven't talked to anybody.
And you promised me and you promised her husband, her.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Perry.
Okay.
The next speaker is Mr. Greg Fournette, 67 Hallstead again.
I think I got 4 questions here. Okay, first question is, what are the areas, the addresses that you have here planned to be taken? You said you were going to take some properties. Which addresses do you plan to take properties from?
There's only one, and that's the property when you first come in where the low-lying area is. Right.
Bradbury,
Yes.
Fizel.
Is it Fizel?
Fizel, well, Bradbury, Fizel. So that's the only property that you're going to purchase?
That is the only property where we will be purchasing.
And there'll be no other existing properties that will take?
No.
Okay, now, when you
But there will be temporary construction easements where we have to do some work, but we're not taking that property.
Yeah, we're familiar with temporary work easements. But however, all right, once you expand the road, you said you're going to take how many feet? The road is going to be how many feet?
The roadway, the traveled way will be 20 feet.
And the sidewalks will be?
There's no sidewalk, it's a concrete
Berm?
pan with a curb, and it's 2 feet.
How much more of the easement will extend into the yard then? Will you take more easement there
No.
for the buffer zone, so you'll own right up to it?
We will own to wherever our existing right of way is at that point.
Okay, so no more. All right, the next question is, in front of 67 Hallstead, there's a power pole. and has a guide wire that comes off that supports the power pole. Now, it is marked with orange ribbons right now, just below Jeff's house, which is
Well, Lynn Ann's house.
right there by Lynn Ann Connor's house. It is marked. What's the plans on that power pole?
So this is the pole with the telephone,
No, that's mine.
that's yours.
It's a pole, it's the one below it, it's the pole on the Oak Hill side, the Oak Hill High School side of 67. If you're going up the street toward Oak Hill High School, 67's on your left, it'll be on the upper part of the property. On the left, as you go toward Oak Hill High School.
You better get to your next question.
Well, I'm sure that Bill will give it, I mean, it's a logical question. I mean, he can't,
You're gonna get,
yeah, he can't hold it against me because they don't have the answer.
okay, we'll have Q&A after.
I mean, you're gonna find it. I'm sure there's a plan what you're gonna do with, because it's marked with orange ribbons, and there is a reason for
I believe the pole is gonna be moved back about a foot or two.
it. Into the existing property? Well, that will be taking some of 67 Hallstead, so that's, the first statement will not be.
That won't be us, that would, the utility company would be in touch with you to do that.
Okay, but that would be taking property. It's got, I mean, either way you slice it, it's taking property.
It will be.
And it's blocking an access, because that is a driveway right there, and that guide wire comes down, and if they move it, we cannot extend that driveway. We cannot move that driveway.
All right, well, there's existing guy wire there. correct?
There is an existing guide wire, but we don't have to move it up because we have parking beside it. If we don't have parking beside the street, we're gonna have to move it into the highway. Now, I got another question.
Okay,
All right.
there's gonna be a Q&A after this.
Well, wait a minute, hold on.
Your 3 minutes are expired, I'm sorry.
I know, but it's their problem.
No, but we're going to get into Q&A. Okay, this public comment is held to 3 minutes. The next speaker is Mr. Jeff Atha at 105 Hallstead.
You got 3 minutes for Jeff?
I just introduced you.
Okay, they first discussed this in 2 years ago, correct?
The superintendent contacted our office, and I say 2 years, I think it was exactly 2 years, plus or minus.
Okay, the superintendent came up here January.
I can't.
I'm thinking it was January this year. Some people will receive some letters. I don't think I ever received a letter on this. And probably most people in here didn't. And nobody really knew anything about it until the superintendent came up here. I don't know, I don't know why I want to keep it a secret to the people on Hallstead. You say that this is going to be a bus street only.
Correct. That's what we have been for from the superintendent.
Okay, so that's what the superintendent told
Yep,
you.
that is going to be a gated driveway at the end of Hallstead for bus traffic.
Hey, Jed, supposedly.
Hey, let's keep the comment.
Okay, I realize that there's a 40-foot right of way there. But you say that you're gonna go with a 20-foot street. What's that street measure now? I can't remember.
I think it varies if you look at you're talking about from edge of pavement to edge of pavement?
Yes.
You have anything?
So it varies,
It kind of does this throughout.
there's about 15 foot.
Yeah.
When you get down the road.
Now, as you go over the hill, it goes, I know it goes a whole lot smaller. But I was thinking that street was right at 20 foot wide right now.
Now, when you say street, are you talking pavement?
Pavement, edge of pavement to edge of pavement.
I think it varies from.
Yeah, I mean, because there's that on-street parking section.
Right.
Where people park, I mean, I'm sure it will vary.
But we have it, it's actually located here on the plans, if you want to look at where
I'll
the
look at it.
existing edge is
I'll look
later,
at it
we can
as
do
well.
that.
My main concern is, I don't understand with what Ann was saying, that is where they put the fence at the back of our properties. that is where our properties actually ended years ago, and that was a Walney Farm. But a frontage road, as you call it, which is what seems to me would be a better idea than coming down through there and moving all those utilities.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. The next speaker is Steve Hazlett, 1222 Minden Road.
And I'm city council representative for Ward 2, along with Jay. Are there any other representatives from the Board of Education here other than Mr. Perry?
I'm not.
No, there's no members here.
I publicly want to say I'm very disappointed not to see anybody from the board here to discuss it. And I agree with most of the people. It's been in the works for 2 years, and a lot of people seem out of the loop. That's sad. I would like to see if there is some other type of solution. Maybe you could use Hallstead as the entrance and Boley as an exit. It would save a whole lot of money on moving utilities, a whole lot of construction. The only other thing I would see that the board would have to do is buy 2 gates to block off both streets. Me as a parent, I'm going to have a child going to that school, so I do have an interest in it. I see what cluster mess the traffic is out there now. It's going to be 2 to 3 times worse once you get Fayetteville and the other schools coming in. So you're going to have a mess on Buller, you're going to have a mess on Summerlee. Parents are going to be trying to use it. By the time they get up the gate to turn around, then you've got double the mess on the street. You know as well as I do, that's what's going to happen. You can try to keep the parents out of the bus lanes now, and they're backed up going down the 19 ramp. They're backed up going down over Avenue, Virginia Street. Everybody trying to get in there at once. I'd just like to see a more amicable solution, an economical solution that would least impact these people and their lives and my taxes. If you could use Hallstead as an in and Boley or Crawford as an out, I think it would be a solution that would be acceptable to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Hazlett. The next speaker is Mr. Joshua Smith, 104 Hallstead Street.
I'm going to defer to a Q&A.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is another Joshua Jones, at 119 Hallstead Street.
Yeah, I didn't actually plan on making any comments, but I do want to reiterate some of the things that were said and put in public record. That it was a failure, I think, on all factions of government that we were not informed of anything what was going on until 90% of the plans were done. I think that's a failure just from the get-go, because it's going to dramatically affect everybody who lives on that street. You know, it's just a bus lane, granted, it's just during the school year, it's just during the mornings and the evenings, but that's a big impact. I have a special needs kid, I have a 9-year-old, I have 2 dogs and 2 cats, and not only am I worried about them this summer doing construction, but I'm worried about them during the school year. So I think it was a failure that we weren't given the opportunity to comment on it when 90% of the plans were done. I think that was a failure. And all levels, from the state, federal, down. And my concern too is also at the bottom of the hill, when, if you're coming out, there's pine trees on the right, people cut that corner all the time. And you have to be careful, and I'm worried about that as I think you guys need to consider that as a safety concern. I don't know if you want to cut down those trees.
Where's that at?
When you're coming out, people cut that corner when they're turning in left.
Oh, okay.
They'll cut that corner, and that's going to be an issue. So everybody want to consider cutting down those trees.
Very first house on the left,
Where you come onto Summer Lake,
Yeah.
off of Hall.
the mouth of the road.
Because that's going to be an accident way, but that much more traffic is going to, somebody's going to, it's going to take somebody head on.
Okay, thank you, Josh. And the last public comment before the Q&A is Mr. Sullivan at 269 Hallstead Street.
How are we doing? Just want to lighten things up a little bit. So, not really a question, but if I was to rake the gravel out of my current driveway, that means that I would have a driveway built for me.
So I'm going.
I just let the grass grow on the driveway. we get a driveway.
Figure out where you're at.
I'm
Did you say 269?
269.
On the right?
It'd be on the left.
Right before my house.
Right before,
Page 15.
yeah.
Right before 302. I'm the only house I
My main concern really comment-wise is property value of the homes. You know, a lot of people are third generation. This is my first home, my wife's first, and my son's first. And, you know, we'd like to have him stay there, pass it along to him, that type of stuff. I don't really want to get into a bind with now because of this road, property value is dropping. You know, I guess that could be for Q&A, but I'm just kind of wondering, what is this going to do to our area already? We already have some people moving out on our street. We have a lot of empty properties right now. And it's just kind of, you know, is that going to hurt us? And also, I'm a teacher and I have a son, and why wasn't a sidewalk decided on this? Because if my kid's going to go to that school, does he have to wait in my front yard to hop on a bus to go 10 feet down the road? I mean,
Well, the sidewalk issue comes back to where we were trying to be less intrusive and not take the yard's property.
I mean, I understand.
If we built a sidewalk, then we would be right in people's front doors to the
Right.
sidewalk. So there really wasn't adequate right of way.
And the other thing on the sidewalk, the sidewalk wouldn't go anywhere because once you get to Summerlee, there's no sidewalk out there. It would just be along
Right.
the street itself.
Okay.
And then the school, we don't know if they're gonna have a sidewalk that would continue.
Right. I'm just being selfish.
No, I believe
Yeah,
exactly.
That's not bad.
And as far as the driveway, once we're done here doing the Q&A kind of individually, I think we are constructing the driveway in our property that will be paid to certain, by 30 seconds.
And yeah, as a employee of the school board, I just want to publicly say I was not even informed of this until a principal kind of mentioned it to me, and I was like, wait, what? My street, what? You know, so just so everybody knows, I worked on it. I wasn't even told.
Is that the last one, Bill?
Can I say something for somebody that's not here? Lynn Ann Connor, she lives between Jeff Atha and my place at 67. She is a ward of the state. She is autistic. She's 50-some years old, and she lives alone. But she's on the left side of the street. She needs to be addressed.
Is she at 55 or 89?
What is above 67?
Next one up above 67.
Oh, toward the school, above 67.
Yes.
Yeah, someone,
Let me go ahead and Mr. Cole will have a question and answer period now, and,
But
go ahead.
what I'd rather do is, I want to discuss two things that were brought up. And then, really what I would rather do is, if you have additional questions, I would like to come up here and look at the plan together and talk about what your concerns are. We can sit here and talk 20 feet apart, trying to look at where you're at and what your issue is. So I'd rather do that route. If somebody wants to stick around and do those individual things, that's fine. But I do want to just address two things that have come. The one thing that we have a procedure when these projects come up, and our procedure is we send out the letters of notification that there's going to be a project, and then our right-of-way department will be in touch with you at whatever time. And we sent out a pile.
have it
Promise.
to the wrong owner.
Promise.
Well,
Never received.
but listen, that's what we do. If they went to the wrong address, wrong owner, that's just due to the bad.
There is a Hallstead Street in Oak Hill instead of Avenue.
Okay.
And that's just sad.
Not last month it wasn't.
But I understand that. So there was error, but we can't correct it. So I just want you to know.
You
that
can't
is
or
something
don't
that
want
we
to.
try to do is notify those owners, and it failed this time. So we realize that, and moving forward, we'll try to take measures to correct that on others. But for us to have discussions in 20, we like to get, hey, this is our plan. That in her right-of-way phase, when she's discussing with property owners, that's where these discussions come up, or we choose to have a public meeting. So those are things we need to look at internally, and that's, we're following statewide policy. So that's something we need to look at internally as far as correcting. Now, the second thing that I think that I forgot to mention in the beginning, maybe what everybody doesn't understand. The highway department can't deny somebody access to their property. So if the school board wanted to come in and build a driveway at the end of the street and us do nothing, they could have done that. We would have given them a permit, they would have built an access point, and then they could have had whatever traffic, whatever, on the existing conditions. The existing conditions really don't support that activity. And that's the discussion we had early on, and that's where this project was conceived. We need to do something. If they're going to use this, and the school board was actively pursuing alternate access. If they wanted to approach us and say, we just want a permit to build a driveway, the highway department do anything, I have to give them access to that property. I can't, it's not controlled access property. I can control the people that live with 19 in their backyard. That is federally controlled access property. I can't let you build a driveway there. The property owners at the end of Hallstead have the right to access Hallstead Avenue. So that's where this was conceived. They, the school board wanted access at some point, and really what we're trying to do with the amount of right of way we have is provide the best access into the school. And yeah, it's intrusive on you guys. It's a change. Property values were brought up. I think once you see the finished product, I think it's really going to be an improvement to the neighborhood as far as having a paved road, curb and gutter. I think it'll look a whole lot nicer. That's my opinion, and you may disagree.
When you can only buy a Kia, one, and if you want visitors, you have to tell them to park at Kroger's and drive and pick them up. I mean, I think we're going to form an HOA to transport people.
Are you doing that now, or are you talking
No,
about
we're going to have to when you do that. Because I'm sure you haven't paid 45 side street parking on an average day at 9 p.m. at night when all the workers are home. There are 45 cars on the side of the streets there because these properties weren't built with driveways. The ones that were built with driveways. We have a carport. We can't even park our car underneath it because it wasn't designed for that.
Right. Now, I just wanted to follow up with these statements. What I want to do as far as the Q&A, I think it's just individually. If you don't have any more skin in the game, so to speak, you're free to leave. But if whoever wants to stick around and talk specifically about the property.
You should have talked to this lady, because she's the one, Gazelle, that you talked about, you're taking part of their property.
Was she on the
I have
same?
talked to her daughter.
This is her
I'm
daughter.
her daughter. Okay, you and I have spoken.
Yes, yes. And that's why I have a question, I have a problem with.
Okay.
I don't know how many people know it, but they're planning to put a pond down there on my mother's property, which would be mosquito and gnat breeding grounds. And it's going to go all over, and then they're going to have drainage out from it, which is going to flood the whole thing, make it all soft and swampy. And we had that drained. Right now, there's a culvert that was put in when they did the sewer that is rusted and filled in. And it's not draining, so it is soft right now. But we have had that drained well. And why can't it just continue to drain on through and not put the pond in?
That falls under where we are in a metropolitan area. We have to follow MS4 drainage requirements, and that requires a detention area. It is not going to be a pond. It is an area to slow drainage down, and part of our plan is the installation, and I'll let you know what you talk about.
So this pond, it doesn't retain water all the time. It's just, like you said, to retain slow the water down before it gets to the sewers. So,
It doesn't go into sewers, it just drains.
Well, we're talking about storms, it's not
Oh, okay,
unsanitary.
the culverts, what I call culverts.
Yeah, the culverts.
Yes.
so, you know, at times this drain will be dry, it just depends.
As an example, earlier I looked outside and it was flat pouring rain, and I don't know if anybody can call it that. When you get a storm like that, you get that concentration of water. It's gonna come in, and it's gonna stop that water, slow it down, and it's gonna flow right out. It's not gonna hold water for days, unless it rains hard for days. So, but it's just what we call a detention basin. It's not a permanent lawn.
The gutter you're putting in, is it on the right-hand side of the road?
The concrete gutters?
Yes.
It'll be on both sides of the road.
Okay, so all of that's from the top, I assume from the top of the hill is gonna drain down there, which it does now. So right now, it's coming in the middle of the road.
Right.
Yes,
But we have no problem with the water going through the property.
Right.
And that's why we have ditches, we pay hundreds of dollars to
And
get the
the
ditches
intent,
cleaned out.
the intent is that happens, we just slow it down as far as.
But we don't want a permanent pond down there, one thing, liability if someone drowns in it.
Right.
That's our question too. You're gonna put that on our property, who's responsible?
No, that's not, it's not a pond, it is
Well, that's what I
a
worded as
detention.
you
Basically,
talked.
it's-
Yeah.
That was your concern, and I did talk to him about the answer. Knew you were out of the country for a while, so when you got back in and we got ready to come talk to another, I had the answers to that.
And I understand we're the only person you're having to buy property from?
yes,
Is it's buying it in order to have that drainage? Is that what that's for?
yes.
So then she will not be responsible for it if you buy it.
Right, it'll be state right away.
Well, now, right away, that's what they have now, I think. But
We're just making it wider so we can construct the detention basin.
You won't be responsible for that detention basin, I will talk to you, so we don't confuse pond and
Okay.
basin. No, we will
will it
be
be
responsible.
covered or is it going to be open on top?
We are,
It'll be open.
it's gonna be very similar to what's in that.
Yeah.
What's in, where?
It's gonna be pretty similar to what you have there now, just basically.
All we have now is ditches. We don't have a big
But
area.
it's just a low-lying grass area, and that's what this will look like when it's finished, or should look like when it's finished.
She's gonna take care of it.
it's gonna be at times, say like you said, we storm events,
Uh-huh.
there's an overflow at the end of it. It'll only be maximum a foot deep. So, and at that point, it's gonna flow out, and that water is gonna settle out. It's gonna be,
At a slower rate.
at a slower rate, and it'll be dry, so, it's really,
When you think of ponds, you think of like fish pond and water there.
When I was
It's
putting
not
the
gonna
pond,
be
I thought either you were gonna dig a hole deeper, or you were gonna pile dirt up and fill it with water.
No,
And drain down. That's what I think of as a pond.
But who's gonna maintain it, the state?
Yes,
So there'll be
Well-
state workers coming, because she's paying for it right now.
Right now, well, we were told that they would maintain those ditches that are there now. They have never done a thing for it. My mother pays to have those ditches
Yes, she
cleaned out
does.
all the time. I think you've been paid to do it
Only once.
once. You know, they said that they would keep them cleaned out so that the water would go through. We've had to pay every time to have it done. No one's ever come.
maintenance of the drainage would be ours. We will mow that according to our mow plan, which is gonna be weekly. However, it's just like any of our other, if somebody wanted to mow that, they're perfectly fine to do
Well,
that.
we heard that too, and they came one time and cut just right around the guardrail. They never came back.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Typically, our mowing plan is on a route like this, is it twice in the summer? Three times?
We try to get twice in the summer. So no, it's not maintained like a yard at all.
Then shouldn't it be concrete?
But we would
Say that.
be
Shouldn't it be
responsible for
concrete
maintaining,
then?
we want to look.
Then-
Because it would grow up, you'd have grass down there.
Make it concrete, then you're gonna have a pond.
Yeah, I guess I see your
And
point.
part of the reason is to try and give that water an opportunity to soak in the ground as well, not just go into the storm system.
Well, but if you soak it into the ground, then isn't that going to make the other ground soft and muddy and
No
all
more
that?
than a regular yard. I mean, that's.
Because
it's try to-
that's why we have the ditches now, and coming into that one main was to drain areas of it.
I tell you what, let's let you look at the
Okay.
plan and how that works as far as the drainage coming out.
We
It's
just
just
don't
like
want-
the ditches you have now with the drain, we have a similar concept to that drains that water.
We
without it
don't want
turning
an
into a swamp.
insect breeding area.
Correct.
You know, we're concerned about that, because we sit on the porches regularly. We
Right.
don't want gnats and mosquitoes. We're concerned about stagnant water, and we're concerned about if it was deep enough, someone could drown in it. That was our concerns.
And if you didn't pay to maintain it, the grass is gonna be this.
Well, we'll have to cut it, I know that.
Bill will give you a deal.
You charge them, their property.
Actually, we're in city limits, they have to keep it at a certain height.
I mean, it comes in
What?
lots.
City limits, you don't be at your door if it ain't cut
If we
right.
don't cut our grass, we're in trouble. We're not being-
This isn't your grass.
Oh, okay.
That's ours. You couldn't get in trouble for that because you don't have that property.
Okay. Because what?
You wouldn't own that
Okay.
that property.
So it's gonna be taken off my mother's tax ticket then? Okay, because I was told when they came around surveying and all that, because I went out and talked to the people, I don't know if any of you were there, that they thought the state owned it, and it's still my mother's tax tickets. So I called the assessor's office at Fayetteville. He said if it was still on her tax ticket, she still owned it. That's what I was told. That the state had so much right of way.
I mean, we already own a significant piece of that bottom down there, but as far as anybody knowing what was on your mother's tax ticket, no one should have known that, because we didn't have that information.
That would probably be a debate between us and the assessor's office as far as how,
Right.
I
But
would find
if
that.
you're gonna own it, I don't think she should have to pay taxes.
Absolutely, you're right, correct.
Right, and it should be taken, and there's a fellow down there that I work with all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it if it was, because, you know, right now she is paying taxes on it.
I've got two other questions.
Well, let's, you just want to roll into the Q and A if anybody has specific questions and wants to look at.
Just have them come up to you.
Yeah, let's just do
I don't
that.
even that, I just want to know two things. Number one, why nobody from the school board was here to speak to us, other than the teacher who lives on the street, who, like he said, he wasn't even informed of it.
They were aware of the meeting and chose not to attend. That's all I can
Exactly,
say.
which is a shame. And number two, the gate you're talking about, going in and out of the school, is that going to be a man gate? Is the bus driver going to have a remote? How's that going to work?
What I was advised, there would be a security guard at that location.
And like somebody said, when you get somebody that comes up that's not a bus and they want to come through, I mean, it's going to cause a delay. They're going to turn around, they're going to be kicked off, and they're going to come flying out our
We have
street.
a large turnaround area.
What I'm saying, they're going to be kicked off, they were denied access, they're running later for school, so they're going to come flying in the other direction.
That's something I can.
So I wish you would look at what we were talking about, them ramps, like coming off of Summer Lee heading towards Fayetteville, if it's possible to put them in the direction going toward that.
Gotcha.
And I believe with better police presence would be a great thing too. Because they do 50 mile an hour down the street right now.
It's city limits too, right?
Right, and they do 50 mile an hour.
I'd like to look at the map with you over a piece of property.
Let's go. Let's look at the map.
Oh, should I be recording still? Okay.
I'll let you go for that. I'm ready for a cigarette. See what we're doing, what they're doing to us. Okay. Look at it. Cigarette in the back. Let's grab a cigarette.
So should I close this then?
Yeah.
Got an idea.
What do you want to know?
Well, it's, like the paving. I know why you're still on a septic tank. No one wanted to know that house, nobody was living in that house, and it cost $250 to hook into it.
Well, no, what happened was, is when the people were alive when it come, but they chose not to hook into it.
Right.
And I was sold a house that it had city sewer.
It doesn't
and
have
it had a
sewer.
septic tank.
Yes,
it
it
does
is a septic
now.
tank.
I just paid $4,000
$4,000,
to
yeah.
hook up to it.
Yeah, I was there in 95.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So how many sanctions have they taken on the properties?
This is now
How many what?
second easement.
Easement, okay.
No. Now they're saying that this is their original easement, and it is, because what they're doing is they're basically going to run a line where it is now on, if you're coming in from Summerlee, they're going to run a line they're gonna go right up to the property line. And their current easement.
Well, I've got a cement wall.
They're gonna do, they're gonna tear it down.
So if they go there, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Already, all that water goes down my driveway.
Well, you know Suddenlink ain't gonna be there the same day to move as power company's gonna move, as the water company's move, as the sewer company's gonna move.
We're gonna have to do it with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the ones that get penalized.
We're the ones that get penalized. We're the ones that get hurt. We're the ones that haven't been
If they had
included
a
in this.
40-foot right of way, why is it only 12 foot entering the street? Why
Exactly.
didn't they take their 40 foot when they first
If they don't, here's the original plans. He was saying, "Oh, we got that right away." No, you don't. Right there's the original plans. That was originally planned for a 12-foot single wide road. Well,
Okay, yeah, we're not even taking temporary construction easements from you. I'm sorry, what?
Literally, subcompact driveway.
But as far as taking any temporary construction easements from you, we're not.
So we just have to deal with well, are the utilities on that side gonna be moved?
That you'll have to talk to the engineers. I'm just wondering, so they may or may not construction easements from you that that's
On down the road.
Okay, Summerlee's out here. School's this way. Coming in, you're here.
Here's the water main.
Basically, y'all are leaving our side of the street mostly alone. This side of the street, except you're removing the street side parking over here, you're gonna move it all over on this side, correct?
The existing center line of the road, basically, yeah, the existing center of the road is right here. That's what this line represents. Okay, so the center line moves over to here, towards your side. There'll be a 10-foot lane, a 2-foot wide gutter pan, concrete gutter pan, and a curb here, a 6-inch high curb. Then there'll be a 10-foot lane here, and then on 10 foot of on-street parking here, and then that same gutter pan and curb on this side. Yes.
So our utilities are for 133.
Right here. Right here, because here's the picture window right here is our utilities.
So, yeah.
These aren't poles, these are the mailboxes. When this is over, we're gonna put mailboxes back in. These aren't poles here.
But no, that's where our utilities are, is right there.
And so you're angling our driveway into the front of the house.
This is how this dash line indicates how your driveway is today. That's your driveway that's been surveyed. And all we're doing is we're just tying in right here at our right-of-way limit.
Okay.
Right at our right-of-way limit. So we're not actually...
You're going to tie to the existing and then nothing.
Correct.
Okay. Are they doing any elevation change to the road? I.e., is it going to be paved up or basically...
I mean, I may have to get the other set of plans. The elevation changes were kept very minimal.
What's minimal?
Do you remember what the elevations were?
Like, am I going to have a cliff to get into that driveway?
No, sir. And that's why we're doing these modifications to almost every driveway, so that when we pave this road, and you're going to have this at your driveway, you're going to have a little short 2-inch curb. Then we're making these modifications so that you will not have a significant climb or drop off. It'll meet our current specifications for getting in it for a driveway. And that's why some of them, you'll see some that may go farther than others. Yours is pretty short, because that's as far as we had to go to meet specifications to provide you a decent access. Some that may have been really steep up or down, we had to go a little further to get that tie-in within specifications.
Okay. So where are we going to park the Buick at?
Well, On the opposite side of the street is what he suggests, though that's going to be
No, because on the opposite side of the street, you already have the people in this home
because
parking.
effectively our problem is the current driveway ends at this carport. This is what this is a carport. We have room for one vehicle, and that's it. You can't get a second car. So we currently have room beside the mailbox and over here. You can get two vehicles. Might be over the driveway, but yeah. But what you're telling me is there's a big over there. We're not even going to think about parking there. So this side of the road is our only option for parking. So you're cramming all of us over where you can manage parking. Where you can manage parking. So I could very easily, on a busy day, end up having to park down at the end of the road and walk all the way back up.
No, and to make it worse,
it's not a sign.
the on-street parking ends right here.
Oh, good.
At 143. Because there wasn't.
So there's nothing past that.
No, then we pick it up back down here again, or where we could accommodate it.
Okay, so what's the total number of car spaces around?
I can't tell you that off the top of my head. We didn't measure the number of car spaces.
So you just put in a strip of land and went, well, you can park a car
Where we fit it in, where we can fit it in our existing right of way, and still ought to do all the other tie-ins to the property
that way
within our right of way.
any comparison to the number of people parking on the sides of the road and what you're going to actually have after this is done. That's what I'm hearing. You have no way to compare this, so you can't tell us how many spaces we're losing and how little parking is going to be there once this is done. Not that any of this is binding. Not that any of this is binding. Because right now, y'all are sitting here and talking about they're going to make it gated in to that road to the school. But ultimately, the school can do whatever they want.
We're giving you the information they're giving us. That's all I have.
So
Ultimately, we have no clue how long we're going to be without utilities.
You won't be without utilities. They will put in the new utilities, and they will hook you up as they disconnect you. All that will be at the same time. You should not be without utilities.
But we're going to be frequently losing them. Because if you're saying they're going to set a pole and move it over, we're going to sit there and flicker on and off, on and off, on and off.
It should not be a major interruption. I mean, they do this all the time. I'm not going to say you won't see any disruptions, but it should not be a major disruption. They'll do most of the work. And then, at some point, they may have to shut the power off to make the connection over here and regenerate it over here. But I wouldn't anticipate major disruptions.
What about internet? What about other business services? I mean, this is a residential neighborhood that has a lot of people that work within the neighborhood. We have a daycare center, two houses out.
Right. I mean, that's the gentleman was up here talking to me.
I mean, so it's not going to be out there on the day. It may take him 5 months to come out and 2 months to get a single line put into my house. You're telling me they're going to do 45 homes in a span of a week?
They understand the time frame this project's on, that we're trying to get under construction this season, and they're moving to try and accommodate that. I have similar issues. We have similar issues that a private person does getting the utilities to do, especially the communication people to do what they're going to do. Well, but we are working with them, giving us the relocation plans, trying to move ahead with that.
Well, why aren't you talking to the homeowners? We, June 25th, we sent a letter out. Apparently, I was one of the only people that had a private mortgage. So we got it from the mortgage company. Everyone else is, who knows where they went to.
And I don't know, well, you just heard Steve call me. There is apparently some mistake, and it could have been as simple as Hallstead Avenue versus Hallstead Street.
But you're pulling tax rate. According to what he said, you're pulling tax rate.
That's typically how these are done. I don't know how that happened. Letters were sent out. I can't explain why they didn't get to the homeowners. I can't. That's something we're gonna have to look at.
What happens? So I guess in a beautiful world with trees and everything, there's going to be a gate at the end of this road. What is going to stop all of those parents from wanting to park over there so they can quickly pick up their kid, and we're going to have a lot. Meanwhile, how many dead children until you put a sidewalk? Because that's what's going to ultimately happen. Flying up and down there, some kid trying to walk down the side of a road that doesn't exist because there's a gutter ban. How many dead kids before you put a sidewalk? And then
Again, we aren't planning a sidewalk.
right,
That
you're
would
not.
that would
You're
just
not.
take more
So you're
property.
going to have anyone trying to walk that road to get to that school is going to be walking in the road.
Well, but they're going to do the same thing when they're walking on Summerlee, and then when they get to the school property, it's exactly the same thing. Neither of those have sidewalks either.
So here we're going with.
There's 2 lanes.
Because you already have kids that cut through the woods.
Yeah, I never rode a bus to school. We always cut through the woods. Come on, it hasn't changed in 30 years.
That's what I'm saying
But here's my thing, since I'm just moving there, is everybody community-wise has a protocol and procedure that has to be followed to do certain things, get certain permits, stuff like that. What makes you all different?
Why are you just going up?
You didn't follow procedures.
You've had no public hearings on this, other than this. You sent out 1 letter. You haven't, nobody from your office has even been on the grounds to see the traffic study, the alternate routes you guys did.
We have traffic counts on the road.
Okay.
I don't know if it shows it on this plan. 20 cars a day is what the current traffic.
That doesn't even fit it. There's 45 cars on that road.
That is our official number. Now, they don't put one of the counter strips down on a road of this class. What they would do is put counter strips down probably along Summerlee, and then on these lower type roads, these lower classification roads, then they use a formula, and I'm not an expert on this, but they estimate how many cars pull off on each of these side roads.
Well, all they had to do was look at the tax records and count the houses. You can guarantee at least every house on that road, except maybe 2 because they're seniors, have at least 1 car, possibly 2. We counted on an average night for a week, looking at the average, it's 45 vehicles that are on the road. This isn't in a garage, this isn't in a carport, this is sitting on the road, on their property. You don't even know where you're putting them.
Still didn't answer the question, though.
And that's why we're working so hard to make improvements to people's driveways that they have, so they can use their driveway, number 1. And number 2, we're providing as much on-street parking as we can. It just won't fit in some areas without us having to go and buy people's property. And we don't
spending $90K on this project, and you're literally dropping every home value.
Well, that remains to be seen. I don't know what it's going to do to property value. It's going to be a significantly better road, which could potentially increase property value.
Really? Would you want to buy a house if you could mark it something?
I cannot think of how it will affect property values.
All right. Well,
but the road will be significantly better. I don't know how people will view it. It will still be a very low-speed road.
Are you going to put speed humps through there?
No, we're not putting speed humps in. Now, where we have shifted the center line back and forth, we think that will provide some traffic calming because it won't be a dead straight road.
Don't matter, they're still going to shoot right through it like they do now.
And
now we've got buses to do it, bigger, heavier ones to do it. Have you been at like Oak Hill when they pull out, or back when Collins was pulling out? They're pulling out top speed, boom, 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 boom. They couldn't even, the police had to get there to stop the traffic so the buses could get out. We're going to go through that twice a day.
And we don't do speed humps. We don't put those on public roads. We post a speed limit, and then it becomes an enforcement issue for somebody to enforce the speed limits that we put on there. But the Division of Highways does not put in speed limits.
Okay, so you just created a drugstore.
Pretty much.
That's what
That's
you're
not our
doing.
intent.
Well, that's what happens, and just moving in myself, in a matter of 2 days, I've been almost hit, I don't know, 6 times by some jerk coming down driving through. Because, oh wait, well, there may be a known speed limit, but who cares? What are they gonna do to me? And that's their attitude.
Well, and again, that's a law enforcement issue. We set the.
That's
safe-
just sad.
We set a safe and
Bad
reasonable
planning,
speed.
right?
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for